Ryu Seon-kang had survived every assassination attempt, every betrayal, every bullet that sought his name. But on this particular Tuesday night, returning home 3 hours early from a cancelled meeting, survival came down to 2 whispered words from the most unexpected person in his mansion. "Stay quiet." Ilara Quinn's trembling voice cut through the darkness of the service corridor. Her hand pressed against his chest, forcing the most feared man in Atlanta's underworld against the wall. Before he could react, armed shadows moved past them through the main hallway, men who wore the uniforms of his own security team, but carried the intent of executioners. His own family had sent them, his uncle's final solution to the problem of a boss who'd grown too merciful, too human, too dangerous to the old ways that built their empire on blood and fear. And somehow, impossibly, his housekeeper, a woman who'd worked in his home for barely 3 months, had discovered the plot in time to save his life. 3 months earlier, Ryu Seon-kang hadn't planned on hiring anyone new. His household staff had been carefully vetted, each person a known quantity, loyal through either fear or genuine respect. The position of junior housekeeper meant nothing to him, a necessary role filled by whoever Mrs. Han Mi-suk, his head of household, deemed appropriate. "Her references check out," Mrs. Han had said, placing the thin application on his desk. "She's been through difficult circumstances, needs the work desperately." Seon-kang barely glanced at the photo. 28 years old Ilara Quinn, African-American Atlanta native, previous employment at a hotel that had closed 6 months prior. No criminal record, nothing remarkable. "Fine, you handle it," he'd replied, already moving on to the next crisis requiring his attention. That had been his only mistake, not paying attention to the woman who would one day stand between him and death. Ilara's first month passed invisibly. She cleaned rooms he never entered, polished furniture he never noticed, existed in the careful margins of his massive estate like all good staff should. Seon-kang preferred it that way. His world demanded absolute focus, negotiations with suppliers, territorial disputes, the constant pressure from his uncle Ryu Jin-ho's faction within the organization. At 31, Seon-kang knew he was young for his position. When his father Ryu Jun-woo died suddenly 2 years ago, the succession had been contested. Seon-kang won through a combination of his father's loyal supporters and his own ruthless efficiency. But winning a position wasn't the same as securing it. "You're too soft," Uncle Jin-ho said during their weekly family dinner, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd spent 4 decades in the criminal underworld. "Your father understood that fear is the only currency that matters." Seon-kang picked up his soju glass, meeting his uncle's gaze. "Fear breeds rebellion. Respect breeds loyalty." Pretty philosophy for someone who's never gone hungry. Jin-ho's smile didn't reach his eyes. "The Americans have made you weak." "The Americans," Seon-kang replied evenly, "buy 90% of what we import. Alienating them would be stupid, not weak." The conversation shifted, but Seon-kang felt the undercurrent. His uncle's generation believed in the old ways, brutal enforcement, public displays of violence, maintaining power through terror. Seon-kang's approach focused on efficiency, on making the organization so profitable and well-connected that violence became unnecessary except as a last resort. It made him wealthy. It made him respected outside the Korean community. But within the family's inner circle, it made him vulnerable. He noticed Ilara Quinn for the first time 2 months into her employment, purely by accident. Returning home late from a meeting, Seon-kang found himself unexpectedly hungry. His driver had the night off, so he'd driven himself, a rare moment of solitude. The kitchen lights were on. Seon-kang moved silently through his own home, instinct taking over. His hand moved to the gun at his waist, his body tensing for confrontation. When he reached the doorway, he found not an intruder, but his junior housekeeper, sitting at the small staff table with a book open in front of her. She looked up, startled. "Mr. Ryu, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize you were home. I'll stay." He surprised himself by saying it. "What are you reading?" Ilara hesitated, her dark brown eyes assessing him with an intelligence he hadn't expected. After a moment, she turned the book so he could see the cover. "Understanding Korea, a cultural guide." "Mrs. Han mentioned you prefer certain things done in specific ways," she explained quietly. "Some of them connect to Korean customs. I wanted to understand better, so I don't make mistakes. Seon Kang found himself intrigued despite himself. Most people don't bother learning. Most people probably don't need this job as badly as I do. Her honesty was refreshing. I can't afford mistakes. He studied her more carefully then. She wore the standard staff uniform, plain and professional. Her hair was pulled back in neat braids that coiled at the base of her neck. Without makeup, her features held a natural elegance, high cheekbones, full lips, skin the rich color of mahogany. But it was her expression that caught him, guarded but not fearful, proud despite circumstance. You're studying Korean culture to clean bathrooms more effectively. The question came out more curious than mocking. I'm studying Korean culture because I work in a Korean household, she corrected him gently, and because understanding shows respect. Something shifted in that moment. Seon Kang couldn't name it precisely, but the woman sitting in his kitchen at midnight reading about his heritage sparked something he hadn't felt in years, genuine interest in another person beyond what they could do for him. Are you hungry? The question emerged before he could stop it. She blinked, clearly surprised. I shouldn't be eating in the main kitchen. I'm asking if you're hungry, not whether Mrs. Han's rules permit it. He moved to the refrigerator, pulling out containers. I'm making bibimbap. You want some? You cook? The surprise in her voice made him smile. A rare expression. I'm Korean. Of course I cook. He began assembling ingredients with practiced efficiency. My mother made sure all her children could feed themselves. She said a man who can't cook is a man who will always be dependent. Ilara stood, moving to wash her hands. Can I help? He should have said no. Should have maintained the distance between employer and staff. Should have remembered his uncle's warnings about showing weakness. Instead, he handed her a knife. Vegetables need to be julienned, thin and even. They worked in comfortable silence, the rhythmic sound of chopping filling the kitchen. Seon Kang found himself explaining each ingredient, the significance of the gochujang paste, the importance of each component remaining separate until the moment of eating when everything would be mixed together. It represents balance, and he said, plating the dish. 5 colors, 5 flavors, everything distinct but meant to become one. Ilara's first bite made her eyes widen. This is incredible. It's simple food. But he felt oddly pleased by her reaction. My mother's recipe. She ran a small restaurant when we first came to America. This was her most popular dish. Your family immigrated when I was 7. The memory surfaced unexpectedly. Seoul to Los Angeles first, then Atlanta when I was 12. My father saw opportunity here. What kind of opportunity? The question was innocent, but Seon Kang felt the weight of his reality. The kind that pays well but costs everything else. He met her gaze. You don't ask many questions about what I do you? I work in your home, Mr. Ryu. I see things. Her voice remained steady. I also know that keeping quiet is part of keeping this job. I have a brother who... Let's just say I understand the importance of discretion. Your brother? Isaiah. He's trying to turn his life around, but his past makes employment difficult. She took another bite, seeming to choose her words carefully. I know what it's like when the world judges you for your worst moment instead of your best intention. After that night, everything changed and nothing changed simultaneously. Ilara continued her work with the same quiet efficiency, but now when Seon Kang entered a room she was cleaning, he found himself pausing. Small conversations emerged, about the book she was reading, about Korean phrases she was trying to learn, about her brother's job search. He has an interview next week, she mentioned while dusting the library shelves. Security position at a warehouse. They're willing to look past his record if the references are strong enough. Seon Kang made a call that afternoon. By evening, Isaiah Quinn had the job. When Ilara discovered what he'd done, she cornered him in his home office, a boldness that would have gotten anyone else fired or worse. I didn't ask you to do that. Her voice shook slightly, but her spine remained straight. I can't be in debt to you, I can't. Consider it payment for the cooking lesson, he interrupted smoothly. You helped me make bibimbap. I helped your brother get honest work. We're even. That's not how this works. She stepped closer, and Seon Kang caught the subtle scent of cocoa butter and something uniquely her. Men like you don't give something for nothing. You're right. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. I usually don't. But you're assuming I did it for you. Maybe I did it because having a man with your brother's skill set grateful to me might prove useful someday. It was a lie. He'd done it purely because the gratitude in her voice when she spoke about her brother's interview had reminded him of his own sister, the one he'd lost years ago to violence he couldn't prevent. But Ilara didn't need to know that. She searched his face, clearly trying to decide whether to believe him. Finally, she nodded slowly. Then I guess I should say, thank you. You should get back to work before Mrs. Han thinks I'm keeping you from your duties. As she turned to leave, he called out, Ilara? She paused, glancing back. Your brother. Tell him if anyone at that warehouse gives him trouble, he should mention my name. Why would your name mean anything to warehouse workers? Because I own the building they work in. He returned his attention to the papers on his desk. And because sometimes having the right name behind you makes all the difference. The weeks that followed fell into an unexpected rhythm. Seon Kang found himself timing his meals to when Ilara might be in the kitchen. She taught him about Black American culture, the significance of certain hairstyles, the history behind soul food, the music that shaped her childhood. He reciprocated with Korean lessons, teaching her proper pronunciation of common phrases. Sarange, he said one evening, demonstrating. It means, I love you. But you have to be careful with Korean. Context changes everything. You'd never say this casually. How would you say it casually? She practiced the syllables, her pronunciation charmingly off. So you wouldn't. Korean doesn't really do casual love declarations. He smiled at her attempt. Try johahai instead. Johahai. It means, I like you, and works for everything from your favorite food to expressing affection. Johahai bibimbap, she said, making him laugh, a sound that startled them both. Perfect. You've mastered the most important Korean phrase. But beneath the comfortable domesticity, Seon Kang's professional life deteriorated. His uncle's faction grew bolder in their criticism. During a meeting with the organization's council, Park Sang-min, his father's former advisor and Jin Ho's ally, openly questioned a business decision. You're letting sentiment cloud judgment, Park said, his voice carrying through the conference room. The old dock territory should be enforced, not negotiated. The old dock territory generates twice the revenue now precisely because we negotiated, Seon Kang replied coldly. Starting a war over pride would cost us millions. Your father. My father is dead. The words came out harder than intended. I'm making decisions for the organization we have now, not the one that existed 20 years ago. The meeting ended in tension. Walking out, Seon Kang caught his head of security, Kim Dae-jung, exchanging glances with Park. The exchange lasted only a second, but in his world, a second was enough. That night, he found Ilara in the kitchen again. She took one look at his face and silently began making tea, Korean omija cha, the 5-flavor tea his mother used to prepare when he was stressed. Mrs. Han taught me, she said, placing the cup in front of him. She said you like it, but never remember to make it yourself. Remind me to give Mrs. Han a raise. He sipped the tea, feeling the complex flavors ground him. Bad day. Do bosses of criminal organizations have bad days? Her tone held gentle teasing. I assumed you just made other people have bad days. I'm a terrible boss, then. All I did today was not start a war my uncle wants. Sounds like a good day to me. She sat across from him, her own cup cradled in her hands. Violence is expensive, isn't it? In money and in what it costs you here. She gestured to her chest. You're unexpectedly philosophical tonight. My brother says the same thing. He learned in prison that every fight costs something beyond the immediate damage. Her expression grew thoughtful. The men who kept fighting eventually lost themselves. The ones who figured out when to walk away kept their humanity. Your brother sounds wise. He's trying to be. She met his gaze. Like someone else I know. Don't romanticize what I am. Ilara. The warning came out rougher than intended. I'm not trying to be good. I'm trying to be effective. There's a difference. Is there? She didn't back down. Because from where I'm sitting, choosing not to start a war that would get people killed seems pretty good to me. People die in my world regardless. He set down the cup, suddenly tired. Whether I give the order or not, blood gets spilled. That's the business. But not today. Her voice softened. Today, because of your choice, whoever would have died in that war is still alive. That counts for something. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. Lee Hyun-woo, one of his truly loyal security team members. We need to talk, privately. Found something wrong with the security rotation schedules. Seon-kang's blood chilled. Security rotation schedules meant access points, timing, vulnerabilities. I have to go, he said abruptly, standing. Ilara rose as well. Be careful. Whatever that text was, your face says it's dangerous. Everything in my life is dangerous. But as he headed for the door, he paused. The tea helped, thank you. Johahai tea, she called after him, making him smile despite the circumstances. Lee Hyun-woo met him in a secure location, an office space Seon-kang owned under a different company name. The younger man's face was grim as he spread out printed documents across the conference table. Someone's been modifying the security schedules, Hyun-woo explained, pointing to highlighted sections. Not the official schedules everyone sees. The actual implementation. Last 3 weeks, specific guards have been assigned to specific positions on specific nights. Creating a pattern. Seon-kang studied the papers, his mind racing. Which positions? Your private residence, main hallway, service entrance, garage. Hyun-woo pulled out another sheet. And look at who's been assigned, all men hired in the last 6 months. All recommendations from Park Sang-min. The implications crystallized into cold certainty. They're preparing an assassination, using my own security team to create blind spots. That's what I think, yes. Hyun-woo's voice remained professional despite the gravity. Question is when? And who else is involved? Seon-kang's hands clenched. His uncle, his father's trusted advisor. How many others had decided he needed to be removed? Pull the files on everyone Park recommended. Cross-reference with my uncle's known associates. Already started. Boss? Hyun-woo hesitated. What do you want me to do about Kim Dae-jung? My head of security. Seon-kang's laugh was bitter. Leave him in place. If we tip our hand, they'll just adjust. Better to know the enemy's position. That means you're vulnerable until... I'm always vulnerable. He started gathering the papers. But now I'm aware. That's more than they think I am. The next 2 weeks passed in carefully maintained normalcy. Seon-kang attended meetings, conducted business, acted as though nothing had changed. But privately, he and Hyun-woo worked to identify every person involved in the conspiracy. The network was larger than expected. Not just Park and his uncle, but several mid-level organizers who saw opportunity in a leadership change. At home, Ilara noticed the tension. You haven't eaten properly in days, she said, finding him in his office at 2 in the morning. Mrs. Han is worried. I'm worried. I'm fine. The lie tasted stale. You're not. She set down a plate of food she'd prepared, Korean comfort food, expertly made, despite her limited experience. Whatever's happening, destroying yourself won't fix it. What makes you think something's happening? You keep checking the security feeds, you've changed your routine. You're not sleeping in your regular room. Yes, I noticed. She sat down uninvited. And 3 days ago I saw you check under your car before getting in. That's not paranoia. That's someone who knows there's a real threat. Seon-kang studied her. In another life, in another situation, her perceptiveness would have made her dangerous to him. But somehow, impossibly, he trusted her. If I told you to quit, he said quietly, to leave this house and not come back, would you? Are you asking me to quit? I'm asking if you would, if things got complicated. Ilara's expression shifted to something fierce. I'm from Atlanta, Mr. Ryu, born and raised in neighborhoods where complicated is just Tuesday. My brother survived 5 years in a facility where violence was daily. I've seen complicated. She leaned forward. So no, I wouldn't quit just because things got hard. I'd ask what you need and how I can help. This isn't your fight. Maybe not. But you helped my brother when you didn't have to. You've been kind to me when every other employer treated me like furniture. Her voice dropped. And honestly, you're one of the few good things in my life right now. So if someone's trying to hurt you, I'd like to know about it. Why? The question came out raw. Why would you care what happens to me? Because you matter. Simple. Honest. Devastating. I've spent enough time around you to know you're trying to be better than what you were raised to be. That counts for something. Before Seon-kang could respond, before he could process the emotions her words stirred, His phone buzzed with a message from Hyun-woo. Tonight. Confirmed. They moved the schedule up. You need to not be at the estate tonight. I have to go. He stood abruptly, calculating. His secured apartment downtown or the hotel suite he kept for emergencies. What's wrong? Ilara read his face. Mr. Ryu? What's happening? Nothing you need to... He stopped, seeing the determination in her expression. Stay away from the house tonight. Take the rest of the evening off. Go to your apartment and don't come back until I call you. Why? What's... Please. The word felt foreign. I don't have time to explain, but I need you to trust me. Leave now, Ilara. Don't argue. She stood, her dark eyes searching his face. For a moment he thought she'd refuse, but finally she nodded. My phone's always on. If you need anything, I won't. He was already planning his exit strategy, his mind running through the layout of his enemy's likely approach. But thank you. She left, and Seon-kang watched the security feed until he saw her car leave the property. Only then did he breathe easier. Whatever happened tonight, at least she'd be safe. He made it to his downtown apartment without incident. Hyun-woo arrived an hour later with a weapons bag and grim news. They're moving tonight. 8 men, possibly more. Kim's coordinating from inside your estate. Hyun-woo checked his watch. They think you're home. The regular schedule shows you in your office until midnight. How do you want to handle this? Seon-kang opened the weapons bag, checking each gun with practiced efficiency. We could alert the legitimate security, have them arrested before... And hand my uncle's faction evidence I knew about the plot? Seon-kang shook his head. They'd spin it as paranoia, as me overreacting. No, we need proof of action, not just intent. So we let them get inside. We let them get inside, Seon-kang confirmed, and then we see who shows their hand. But at 11:30, everything changed. His phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Ryu? Ilara's voice, barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry, I'm at the house. Mrs. Han called, said she needed help with something urgent. I came back and... Ice flooded his veins. Where are you? Service corridor, 2nd floor. There are men in your house, armed men. I saw them and hid, but Mr. Ryu, they're not security, they're... I know what they are. He was already moving, grabbing keys. Stay hidden, stay absolutely silent, I'm coming. No. They'll kill you if you... I'm already dead if they think the plan worked and I don't show up. He signaled to Hyun-woo, who immediately understood. Stay where you are, Ilara. Stay quiet. I'll find you. Seon-kang drove with precision, not speed. Arriving too fast would alert them. He needed to enter his own home, as if he'd simply come back early from an evening out. Unexpected but not suspicious. Hyun-woo coordinated from the car behind him, mobilizing their truly loyal team members without triggering the compromised security systems. The plan was delicate. Arrive, confirm the assassination attempt, capture enough evidence to crush the conspirators completely. Except now Ilara was trapped inside. Why would Mrs. Han call her back? Hyun-woo asked through the phone connection. She wouldn't. Seon-kang's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Mrs. Han knows better. Someone used her phone or... The implication was ugly. Another traitor. Approaching his estate, everything looked normal. Lights in the usual windows. Security gate responding to his transponder. Only someone looking carefully would notice the lack of roving patrols, the 2 empty guard posts. Seon-kang parked in his usual spot, moving with his usual confidence. The main entrance stood quiet. He stepped inside, every sense heightened, his hand resting casually near the weapon concealed under his jacket. The silence felt wrong. No staff. No usual sounds of a lived-in home. His footsteps echoed too loudly as he moved toward the main hallway. Then, movement in his peripheral vision, a shadow that shouldn't exist. Before he could react, a hand grabbed his wrist, pulling him sideways into the service corridor. Another hand pressed against his chest, forcing him against the wall. Stay quiet. Ilara's whispered words barely reached him. Her body pressed close, her hand firm against his chest. In the darkness, he could see her face inches from his, eyes wide, breathing controlled despite obvious fear. Armed men moved past their hiding spot. 6 of them spread through the hallway. One spoke quietly into a radio. In position. No sign of the target yet. Seon-kang remained absolutely still, his mind racing. They were inside his home, coordinating. This wasn't reconnaissance. This was the execution team. Ilara's hand trembled slightly against his chest, but she didn't move, didn't speak, just kept him pressed against the wall, hidden in the shadow of a recessed doorway. The men passed. Ilara waited 10 more seconds before releasing him, her hand falling away slowly. "They've been here for 20 minutes, she breathed, barely audible. "I counted 8 total. They think you're in your office." "How did you—" "I heard them planning. I was hiding in the cleaning supply room. They used it as a staging area before I got there." Her eyes held fierce intelligence. "Mr. Ryu, these men are here to kill you." "I know." He carefully assessed their position. "Why did you come back?" "Mrs. Han called, said there was an emergency with the cleaning schedule system. But when I got here, the main house was wrong. Too quiet. I saw one of them checking weapons in the garage." She grabbed his arm. "We need to get you out." "Not yet." He pulled out his phone, texting Hyun-woo their location. "I need evidence. I need them to act." "Evidence?" Her voice rose slightly before she caught herself. "You want to let them try to kill you for evidence?" "I want them to commit enough to make denial impossible." He met her gaze. "My uncle planned this. My father's oldest friend. Half my security team. If I run now, they regroup and try again. I need to end this permanently." "By dying. By making them think they've won, then proving they've lost." He checked the hallway. "Clear. Can you get to the security control room?" "The one off the kitchen." At his nod, she thought quickly. "Yes, if I go through the back stairs." "Do it. Lock yourself in. There's a panic button under the main console. Press it twice, wait 5 seconds, press it 3 more times. That's the signal for the actual security team to enter with full force." "What about you?" "I'm going to my office. Let them find me." "That's insane." Her hand gripped his arm tighter. "Mr. Ryu, Seon Kang, you can't just—" The use of his given name stopped him. "This is the only way, Ilara. There's always another way." Her voice caught. "You helped my brother. You've been kind to me. You matter, remember? Don't throw your life away for pride." "It's not pride." He covered her hand with his. "It's everything. My father's legacy, the people who depend on me, the future I'm trying to build. If I run now, I lose it all anyway." She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "The security room panic signal. Then what?" "Then you stay locked in until this is over." He hesitated. "Ilara, thank you. For the warning. For caring. Don't die." She squeezed his hand once. "I mean it. Don't you dare die and make me feel guilty for leaving you." Despite everything, he smiled. "I'll do my best." They separated, her toward the back stairs, him toward his office. Seon Kang moved through his home with practiced ease, making no effort to hide. Let them see him. Let them think the plan was working. His office door stood ajar. He entered, moving to his desk, pouring scotch with steady hands. The hidden cameras Hyun-woo had installed would capture everything. Now he just needed them to make their move. The waiting felt eternal. 2 minutes, 5, 10. Then Kim Dae-jung stepped into the doorway, gun drawn. "Boss?" His voice held false regret. "I'm sorry it came to this. Are you?" Seon Kang sipped his scotch, appearing calm. "My father trusted you. I trusted you. Your father was great. You're weak." Kim moved closer, other men filing in behind him. "Your uncle tried to teach you, but you wouldn't listen. All this talk of respect and negotiation, it's made us look soft." "Soft?" Seon Kang laughed coldly. "We've tripled our revenue since I took over, expanded into 6 new territories without firing a shot. But you call that soft. We call it the end of an era." Park Sang-min entered the room, his expression satisfied. "Jin-ho will restore the organization to what it was, what it should be. And you think executing me in my own home will accomplish that?" Seon Kang set down the glass. "Half the organization is loyal to me. You'll start a civil war. We'll win it." Park signaled to Kim. "Make it clean. 1 shot." Kim raised his weapon. The panic alarm screamed through the house. Chaos erupted instantly. The real security team, Hyun-woo's carefully selected loyalists, poured through the doors. The assassins, caught off guard by an alarm that shouldn't exist, hesitated for crucial seconds. Seon Kang dove behind his desk as gunfire exploded. Not the clean execution Park had planned, but a messy firefight that would leave evidence everywhere. Perfect. Kim tried to run, but Hyunwoo's team had blocked all exits. Within minutes it was over. 8 conspirators captured alive, weapons confiscated. Everything recorded by the security system Seonkang had upgraded specifically for this purpose. Park Sang-min, pinned against the wall with 3 guns pointed at his head, looked at Seonkang with pure hatred. You knew. I knew. Seonkang stood, brushing off his jacket. You think I'm weak because I prefer negotiation? I negotiated the loyalty of people you dismissed. I built networks you couldn't see, and when you moved against me, I had enough advance warning to turn your assassination attempt into evidence that will destroy everyone involved. Jin Ho is currently being arrested by federal agents. Seonkang checked his watch. They have recordings of him discussing human trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Funny thing, one of those soft negotiations I made was with a prosecutor who really wanted evidence on my uncle's off-the-books operations. I've been providing it for 6 months. The realization crashed over Park's face. You were planning this. I was surviving this. Seonkang's voice turned cold. My father taught me that power isn't about fear. It's about knowing when to strike and having the patience to wait for the right moment. You mistook patience for weakness. That was your mistake. As police, legitimate police, ones he'd carefully cultivated relationships with, began arriving to process the scene, Seonkang finally allowed himself to breathe. Then he remembered. Ilara. He started toward the security room, but Hyunwoo stopped him. She's fine, locked in like you told her. Hasn't opened the door despite 3 officers asking. Hyunwoo's expression held rare approval. Smart woman, brave too. One of the assassins tried the security room door. She told him very loudly that she'd already called 911 and he should leave before police arrived. She bluffed an armed man? She saved your life, boss. If she hadn't triggered that alarm when she did. Hyunwoo didn't need to finish. Seonkang found the security room door locked, as reported. He knocked gently. Ilara, it's me. You can come out now. Silence. Then, how do I know it's really you? Because I'm the one who taught you how to say I like you in Korean. He smiled despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. And because I promised I wouldn't die and make you feel guilty. The lock clicked. The door opened slowly. Ilara looked at him with eyes that held too many emotions to name. Then she grabbed the front of his shirt and yanked him into the room, slamming the door behind him. You absolute idiot! Her voice shook with fury and relief. You walked into your office knowing they were going to shoot you. She hit his chest with her fist, not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to make her point. I heard the gunshots. I heard fighting. I thought you were dead. I'm not. He caught her hand, holding it against his chest. I'm fine. You saved my life, Ilara. If I hadn't triggered that alarm, you would have had another plan. But her anger was dissolving into something else. Wouldn't you? You always have another plan. Usually. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. But having you watch my back made this one work better. I was terrified. The admission came out broken. I was locked in here listening to gunfire and thinking about how I'd just lost someone who mattered. Again. Again. My father was killed during a robbery when I was 16. My mother died 2 years later. Heart gave out from the stress and grief. Isaiah went to prison because he tried to avenge them and made everything worse. She looked up at him, tears tracking down her face. I've lost everyone who mattered, Seonkang. I wasn't ready to lose you too. Something in Seonkang's chest cracked open. This woman, this beautiful, brave, impossibly strong woman, had burrowed into his life and made herself essential, not as an employee, not as a convenience, as someone who saw him, truly saw him, and chose to care anyway. You're not losing me. He pulled her closer, wrapping her in his arms. I promise you, Ilara Quinn, you're not losing me. She clung to him, her face pressed against his chest. He could feel her trembling, could feel the aftermath of fear and adrenaline working through her system. So he held her, letting her take whatever time she needed. Finally, she pulled back slightly. What happens now? Now? He brushed a thumb across her cheek, wiping away tears. Now I dismantle my uncle's faction, consolidate power, and prove to everyone that mercy isn't weakness. Now I build the organization I've been trying to create, one that doesn't require blood to function. And me? Her voice was small. What happens to me? Seong Kang looked at her, this woman who'd read Korean cultural guides to understand him better, who'd hidden in a supply closet to gather intelligence on his assassins, who'd risked her life to warn him when running would have been safer. That depends on what you want. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. You could go back to being my housekeeper, pretend tonight never happened, or you could acknowledge that you're not just staff anymore. That you haven't been for a while. His voice dropped. That I trust you more than people I've known for years. That having you in my life matters more than I'm comfortable admitting. Ilara's eyes widened. Mr. Ryu. Seong Kang. He smiled slightly. I think we're past formalities, considering you've seen me nearly assassinated. Seong Kang. She tested his name, her pronunciation still charmingly imperfect. What are you saying? I'm saying I want you to stay not as an employee, as something more. Something I'm honestly terrified to name because I haven't felt this way about anyone in longer than I can remember. He took a breath. I'm saying that my life is dangerous, complicated, and morally grey, and I'm asking if you'd consider being part of it anyway. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, incredibly, she laughed, a sound caught between disbelief and joy. You're asking me out, right now, while there are police processing a crime scene in your office? Terrible timing? The worst. But her smile was radiant. Ask me again tomorrow. Tomorrow? Tomorrow. When we're not both running on adrenaline and fear. She squeezed his hand. When you're sure you mean it. When I'm sure I'm not just relieved you're alive. And if I still mean it tomorrow? Then I'll probably say yes. Her eyes held promise. Because you're right. This stopped being just a job a long time ago, and you matter to me too, more than I should probably admit. A knock interrupted them. Hyun-woo announcing that the police needed Seong Kang's statement. Duty calls, Ilara said softly. Stay? He didn't want to let her go yet. I'll give my statement, deal with the aftermath, but stay in the house tonight. I want to know you're safe. I'm probably safer here than anywhere else. She touched his face briefly. Go do what you need to do. I'll be here when you're done. He left the security room feeling lighter than he had in years. Outside, the chaos of the assassination attempt had evolved into organized cleanup, police reports, evidence collection, statements from witnesses. But through it all, Seong Kang maintained perfect composure. By dawn, it was over. The conspirators were in custody, the evidence documented, the traitors identified and removed. His organization, bloodied but intact, awaited his direction. And Ilara Quinn waited in his kitchen, making tea with the comfortable ease of someone who belonged there. How did it go? She asked as he entered. Total victory. He accepted the cup she offered. My uncle's faction is destroyed. The organization is unified under my leadership. And I have enough evidence to keep federal prosecutors happy for years, which means they'll leave my legitimate operations alone. So you won. We won. He met her gaze. You saved my life tonight, Ilara. Don't think I'll forget that. I told you to stay quiet, she said with a small smile. You're the one who listened. Best decision I ever made. He set down the tea. It's tomorrow. What? You told me to ask again tomorrow. It's dawn, technically tomorrow. He stepped closer. So I'm asking, will you stay? Not as my employee, as what? Her voice was gentle, giving him space to define it. As mine. The word felt right. As someone I protect, someone I trust, someone I... He hesitated on the edge of saying too much too soon. Someone who matters more than anything else. Ilara studied him, her dark eyes searching his face. Then she smiled, slow and sure and beautiful. Johahai, she said, her pronunciation better but still imperfect. You like me? He couldn't help grinning. I like you. She moved closer, her hand finding his. I like your terrible cooking lessons and your random Korean phrases, and the way you pretend to be cold, but do kind things when you think no one's watching. I like that you helped my brother and respected my intelligence and made me feel seen for the first time in years. She took a breath. So yes, Seong Kang, I'll stay. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close as the sun rose over Atlanta. Outside, his empire waited to be rebuilt. His enemies waited to be dealt with. His future waited to be shaped. But in this moment, with Elara Quinn in his arms, Ryu Seon-kang finally understood what his father had tried to teach him. Power without connection was just elaborate loneliness. And he'd been lonely long enough. 6 months later, Elara Quinn stood in Seon-kang's office, no longer as an employee but as his partner in every sense that mattered. The organization had transformed under their combined influence, profitable, efficient, and significantly less violent than under previous leadership. "Your brother called," as she said, reviewing messages on her tablet. "The warehouse promotion came through. He's managing his own team now." "Good." Seon-kang signed the last document, then reached for her hand, pulling her around the desk. "What about your application?" "Accepted." She grinned. "I start business school in the fall. Your accountant, Choi Soo-jin, agreed to write a recommendation. Apparently my intuitive grasp of organizational dynamics impressed her." "You impressed everyone." He kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of cocoa butter that had become synonymous with home. "I'm proud of you." "You're the one who suggested I apply." "I just pointed out that you were already managing half my operations without realizing it. You're the one who decided to make it official." He tucked a stray braid behind her ear. "How's Mrs. Han adjusting to you not being staff anymore?" "She keeps trying to serve me tea." Elara laughed. "I keep telling her we're equals now, but old habits die hard." "Technically, you're above her in the organizational chart." Seon-kang's smile was wicked. "You're the boss's partner. That trumps head of household." "Don't." She swatted his arm. "I'm not pulling rank on Mrs. Han. She taught me everything. She taught you to make bibimbap. I taught you to make business decisions that affect millions of dollars. There's a difference. You also taught me Korean curse words, which I'm about to use on you. Say it." He pulled her onto his lap. "Say you love me in Korean." "Sarange," she whispered against his lips. "I love you, Ryu Seon-kang." "Sarange," he replied. The words he'd never expected to mean. "I love you, Elara Quinn, my savior, my partner, my home." Outside, Atlanta bustled with life. Inside, two people from different worlds built something neither had expected, a future based not on fear, but on trust. And it all started because she'd whispered two words in the darkness. Stay quiet. The best advice he'd ever followed.